the Maha Kumbh Mela, a gathering so vast, so significant, it's been dubbed the largest peaceful congregation on earth. Millions upon millions of pilgrims, all drawn to the Ganges, seeking spiritual cleansing, a chance to wash away their sins. It's a breathtaking spectacle of faith. But this year, amidst the swirling colors and chanting mantras, a darker reality has emerged, a reality where faith is tested, not by spiritual trials, but by very human failings. This is the story of the Maha Kumbh 2025, where the sacred and the profane have collided in the most tragic of ways. Imagine this. You've traveled for days, maybe weeks, to reach this holy site. The journey has been long and arduous, filled with anticipation and hope. You've braved the elements, navigated through unfamiliar terrains, and endured countless hardships, all for the promise of spiritual fulfillment. You're surrounded by millions, all united by faith. The sheer number of people is overwhelming, yet there's a sense of unity, a shared purpose that binds everyone together. The air is thick with devotion, chants, and the scent of incense. There's an energy, a palpable fervor in the air. It's almost electric, a collective heartbeat that pulses through the crowd. People are singing, praying, and performing rituals. Their faces alight with spiritual fervor. And then it happens. A surge, a push, a ripple of panic that escalates into a terrifying stampede. What started as a moment of devotion quickly turns into a nightmare. The crowd's energy shifts from joyous to frantic in an instant. On January 29th, 2025, during the Mauni Amavasya ritual, that nightmare became a reality. The ritual, meant to be a moment of peace and reflection, was overshadowed by chaos and tragedy. At least 30 people crushed to death, lives lost in the blink of an eye, dreams shattered, families torn apart. The holy site, once a place of solace, became a scene of horror. Dozens more injured, the air thick with dust, screams, and the desperate prayers of the fallen. The aftermath was a scene of utter devastation, with people frantically searching for loved ones amidst the chaos.
Witnesses described scenes of utter chaos. People were crying, shouting, and scrambling to find safety. The panic was palpable, and the sense of helplessness was overwhelming. Pilgrims, packed so tightly they could barely breathe, trapped in overcrowded enclosures with nowhere to escape. The sheer density of the crowd made movement nearly impossible, turning the holy site into a death trap. Calls for help, for additional routes, were seemingly ignored. The cries of the desperate were drowned out by the chaos, and the lack of immediate response only exacerbated the situation. The very measures designed to manage this massive crowd utterly failed. Barricades meant to control the flow of people collapsed, and the crowd management strategies proved inadequate in the face of such overwhelming numbers.
And in the aftermath, as the nation mourned, fingers were pointed. The grief was compounded by anger and frustration as people sought answers and accountability. Prime Minister Modi, Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath both faced a wave of criticism. Their leadership was called into question, and their handling of the event scrutinized. Accusations of prioritizing VIP arrangements over the safety of everyday pilgrims. The disparity between the treatment of the elite and the common people became a focal point of public outrage. Opposition parties seized the moment, chanting "Modi Yogi" down in parliament, demanding accountability and justice for the victims. The political fallout was immediate and intense, demanding accountability for the tragic loss of life. The public's demand for answers grew louder, and the pressure on the government increased. A judicial probe was ordered, but for the families who lost loved ones, the promise of justice felt insufficient. The pain of their loss was immeasurable, and no investigation could bring back their loved ones. For those forever scarred by the experience, justice feels like a distant, hollow promise. The memories of that tragic day will haunt them forever, a stark reminder of when faith turned fatal. Let's talk about hygiene, shall we? Hygiene is often an overlooked aspect of large gatherings, but it is crucial. When millions of people converge in one place, the infrastructure is put to the test. The strain on public facilities becomes immense, and the consequences of neglecting sanitation can be dire. Because when you gather millions of people in one place, sanitation becomes not just a matter of comfort, but of public health. The sheer volume of waste generated can overwhelm even the best prepared systems. Sanitation workers are often seen struggling to keep up, their efforts heroic but ultimately insufficient. And at this year's Maha Kumbh, the situation is, to put it mildly, abysmal. The festival grounds are littered with trash, and the streets are overflowing with garbage. The site is not just an eyesore, but a breeding ground for diseases. The lack of proper waste management has turned the holy event into a public health crisis. Remember those grand promises from the Modi government? A clean and green Kumbh? The ambitious campaigns and lofty goals seemed promising. The idea was to create a festival that was not only spiritually uplifting, but also environmentally sustainable. Well, someone forgot to tell the overflowing garbage dumps. The reality on the ground is starkly different from the promises made. The garbage piles are a testament to the failure of the initiatives. The disconnect between the vision and the execution is glaring. Mountains of plastic bottles, food wrappers, discarded clothing littering the streets, the riverbanks, basically anywhere you look. The environmental impact is devastating. The plastic waste, in particular, poses a long-term threat to the ecosystem. The riverbanks, once pristine, are now choked with debris.
Public toilets? Overwhelmed, to put it politely. The facilities are inadequate to handle the massive influx of people. The result is unsanitary conditions that are not just unpleasant but hazardous. The stench is overpowering, and the risk of disease is high. Many are left with no choice but to defecate in the open, creating a truly unholy stench. The lack of proper sanitation facilities forces people into desperate measures. The open defecation not only pollutes the environment but also poses serious health risks. And the Ganges, that sacred river, the lifeblood of faith for millions? The river that is supposed to cleanse the soul is now a repository of filth. The pollution levels are alarming, and the river's sanctity is in jeopardy. It's now a toxic soup of garbage, sewage, and even dead fish. The water quality has deteriorated to dangerous levels. The presence of dead fish is a clear indicator of the river's declining health. The once life-giving waters are now a hazard. Reports show dangerously high levels of bacteria, fecal contamination. The scientific data backs up what is visible to the naked eye. The water is not just dirty, it is toxic. The health implications for those who come into contact with it are severe. Taking a dip in these waters isn't a spiritual cleansing, it's a fast track to dysentery. The act of bathing in the river, meant to purify the soul, now endangers the body. The risk of waterborne diseases is high, and the consequences can be dire.
But hey, none of that stopped Prime Minister Modi from taking his own holy dip, projecting an image of piety while seemingly ignoring the environmental and public health disaster unfolding around him. The optics of the situation are striking. The leader's actions contrast sharply with the grim reality, projecting an image of piety while seemingly ignoring the environmental and public health disaster unfolding around him. The optics of the situation are striking. The leader's actions contrast sharply with the grim reality. It's enough to make you wonder, what exactly are we cleansing here? The festival, meant to be a celebration of faith and purity, has become a stark reminder of our environmental neglect. The question lingers, challenging us to reflect on our actions and their impact. What exactly are we cleansing here? The festival, meant to be a celebration of faith and purity, has become a stark reminder of our environmental neglect. The question lingers, challenging us to reflect on our actions and their impact. In Chapter 3, Lost in Transit, the Kumbh's logistical nightmare. Picture this, you stuck in traffic. Not just any traffic, mind you, but a 48-hour, 300-kilometer-long caravan of humanity. Welcome to the Maha Kumbh, where the journey to enlightenment apparently involves a whole lot of sitting very, very still. With over 400 million visitors expected, Prayagraj, the host city, has become synonymous with gridlock.
Public transport? Let's just say the buses and trains are experiencing maximum occupancy, and by maximum occupancy, I mean people clinging to the sides like overzealous barnacles. Reports are coming in of pilgrims, particularly the elderly, fainting from exhaustion and dehydration. Emergency services struggle to navigate the human labyrinth, their sirens lost in the cacophony.
It's a logistical nightmare, a testament to the fact that even the best-laid plans can crumble under the weight of millions upon millions of people. And amidst this chaos, one can't help but wonder, is this truly the spiritual experience people were hoping for? Chapter 4, Faith, Politics, and a Whole Lot of Money. Now let's talk about the elephant in the overcrowded, poorly sanitized room politics. The Kumbh Mela, one of the largest religious gatherings in the world, is not just a spiritual event, it's a massive stage where faith and politics intertwine in a complex dance. Because let's be honest, the Maha Kumbh, with its millions of attendees, is a politician's dream. The sheer number of people provides an unparalleled opportunity for political parties to make their presence felt, to connect with the masses, and to push their agendas.
And the BJP government, led by Prime Minister Modi and Chief Minister Adityanath, they've certainly made the most of it. Their presence at the Kumbh is not just about participating in a religious event, it's a calculated move to solidify their political base. The Kumbh has become a platform for Hindutva politics, a chance to consolidate the Hindu vote bank ahead of elections. Political rallies, banners, and speeches are all part of the spectacle, turning a religious gathering into a political carnival. But here's the thing, while ordinary pilgrims are struggling with filth, stampedes, and logistical nightmares, VIPs and politicians are living it up. The stark contrast between the experiences of the common devotees and the privileged few is glaring. We're talking clean, private enclosures, luxury tents, even dedicated bathing areas. These exclusive amenities are far removed from the chaos and squalor that the average pilgrim has to endure.
It's almost as if there are two Kumbh Melas happening simultaneously, one for the haves and one for the have-nots. The disparity is not just in comfort but in the very essence of the experience. Critics argue that public funds meant for sanitation and infrastructure have been diverted to fund grand political displays, advertisements and those cushy VIP accommodations. This misallocation of resources has left many pilgrims feeling betrayed and neglected. It's a slap in the face to the millions who came seeking spiritual solace only to find themselves caught in a political spectacle. The very essence of the Kumbh, a place for spiritual cleansing and renewal, is overshadowed by political machinations. And it raises a deeply unsettling question: is the Maha Kumbh about faith, or is it about power? The lines between devotion and political ambition have blurred, leaving us to ponder the true purpose of this grand event. The Kumbh, a microcosm of India's challenges. Look, the Maha Kumbh Mela is a truly awe-inspiring event. The sheer scale of it, the devotion it inspires, it's unlike anything else on earth. But this year it's also been a stark reminder of the challenges facing India. The lack of infrastructure, the sanitation issues, the political opportunism, it's all on full display. And while millions may have found spiritual solace in the waters of the Ganges, the question remains, can India cleanse itself of the systemic issues that continue to plague events like this? Because until it does, the true meaning of the Kumbh, the idea of collective cleansing and renewal, will remain tragically out of reach.